Okay, we're live. Let's jump right into it then. Yeah, so the actual audio should sound a lot better now. I think I've got the trick. I'm gonna try to do a video with this microphone, and we'll see how it goes. And basically, in this video, I wanted to focus on this idea or this concept of, how do you measure performance in a digital marketing campaign, namely in Facebook or in Google Ads. And so this is tricky because the whole industry actually says that you measure your performance based on, most people will look at it and based on ROAS. So if in platform ROAS, and when I say in platform, I mean like in Facebook, in Google, what does the ROAS say? So that means, most people, when they see if their Facebook ROAS says 1.0, and by the way, ROAS stands for return on ad spend. So if their Facebook ROAS says 1.0, and their Google ROAS says 3.0. Um, 3.0 means if they spend $1 in ads, then they're getting, apparently, they're getting 3x return. So three times their return on what they spent in advertising. So that's what ROAS is. And so, therefore, the logic is if the ROAS number is higher, then my performance is better. Okay. So that's the concept that I want to talk about in this video. And I think in the beginning, when I was first learning about performance marketing and digital marketing and advertising in general, that was something that I would say is what I learned initially. That's how I measured success initially. But as I got more and more experience and I actually, saw clients spending anywhere from like 10,000 to 30,000 a month just on their ad spend on, let's say, just Facebook or even just Google. So clients that are just getting more and more sophisticated. Um, the way in which some of these clients, not all, because there are still clients that I see today that are spending a lot of money and they only basically measure their performance based on ROAS. Now, I will say with an asterisk that um, depending on the business model, it does make sense to look at that. Just it just depends on their purchase cycle and how many times that a typical customer, will actually repeat purchase from them. But I can explain that in a little bit. But the main thing is okay. Let's talk about a business model in specific. Let's talk about e-commerce. Okay, more specifically, an e-commerce brand that has greater than 2.0 repeat purchase rate. So somebody may purchase initially, and that's their first order, and then sometime within the next 90 days, we'll just say for this example, they come back and purchase again. Now, we're not going to get into the details or say whether that purchase was the same amount as the initial or was it greater or less. We'll just say that they came back and purchased again. Although that is super important because that gives us information on kind of one of the most important metrics to measure your marketing, which is your lifetime value of a customer. So coming back to it, so basically, the old way of, or I would say the beginner, the novice way of measuring your marketing is just based on what the in-platform number says. It says 2.0, it says 1.0, it says 3.0. Therefore, the higher the number, the better it is. Okay, but here's the problem, especially with repeat purchase businesses. And the higher, if you have a 3, 4, 5x repeat purchase rate, then the worse this advice is. If you have a very low, like 1 to 1.5 repeat purchase rate, then the better this advice can fit for your business. So the larger it is, the reason why you can't really go with ROAS is because there's a difference between an initial order and a returning order. And the initial order is the most expensive to acquire in the first place. The returning order is not expensive. It's a lot less cheaper to acquire when you compare it to the initial order. Now, where does growth come from? It doesn't come from, actually, sorry, it does come from the repeat purchases. However, from an advertising perspective, where does growth come from? It doesn't come from advertising to the people who've already purchased your initial, like the first time. If they've already had their first time purchase with your store, with your business, then marketing to them again to potentially put them back to the beginning of the funnel, the sales funnel, where they're going to make that first purchase again, is not as efficient, and you're not going to grow and have the ability to scale your business, as opposed to if you were to go out and prospect for new potential customers. And so the key takeaway here is new versus returning customers. If you are marketing towards your returning customers when you really should be focusing your marketing towards new customers, and the asterisk to that is, do these new customers, sorry, do you have automations, email marketing follow-ups in place to nurture and cross-sell and upsell the existing customers? Okay, so if that's in place, then yes, we got to focus on new customer acquisition, and that's the biggest thing. So when it's all said and done, the more of a purchase, repeat purchase rate that you have, the less ROAS is important. And I can tell you like this, like, because most of the platform numbers is just looking at your initial purchase rate. So if what happens if you don't make any money, you don't make any money more than you spent to acquire the customer on their initial order. So let's say your average order value is $65, and you spent $75 to acquire that customer. So therefore your ROAS is like negative, 0.25 or something like that, or whatever it is, negative zero point 0.1. Um, then the amateur business owner will say, "Oh my God, let's turn everything off." But when you understand the lifetime value of your customer, and that the average time when you acquire a new customer, that existing customer will come back and purchase is somewhere around 5, 6, 7 times over the next 6 or 7 months, then if you break even or lose a little bit of money on the first purchase, it is almost like amazing. That, like, just depends on your cash position, but like your ability to scale at that point is practically just capped by the size of your market, essentially, and your competitors, obviously. But like, you have the ability to spend more if you wanted to, because of how much profit that you have coming in the next few months. So again, the younger the business is, the less cash it has in reserves, then the more important it is to have higher profit on the initial order. However, that does limit your growth. And if you have a goal to grow aggressively and acquire new customers, but you don't want to spend your marketing dollars on prospecting for new customers because you want to see a high ROAS in the platform, then I mean these are two goals that are contradicting each other. And so, yeah, if you're a business owner, if you own a Shopify store, and you're looking at in-platform ROAS, then think about. I'd encourage you to not think about, okay, what is the ROAS, because the ROAS is technically just one metric in a scheme of different like a bunch of different metrics, and so you got to look at the whole story. And so the main drivers of success in an e-commerce, typically in an e-commerce business, is how many new customers am I acquiring? What is the lifetime value of my customer? And then how does the lifetime value of my customer relate to the cost that it takes to acquire a new customer? So there's a ratio called the LTV to CAC ratio, and that just stands for your lifetime value divided by your cost to acquire a new customer. And if you're over 2, 3, 4, 5, oh my gosh, then you need to start scaling. Oh my God, you need to just start scaling. So that's all I wanted to talk about, because over the last few weeks, it's been really frustrating to have these conversations, to talk about performance, and then like just have this circular conversation of, well, we want to scale, but we don't want our ROAS to go down. Okay, why does ROAS even matter? It's like saying, I want to scale, but I don't want my click-through rate to go down. Well, one doesn't actually have anything to do with the other. What matters is, how much is your lifetime value? How much do you make over the course of, how much like gross profit do you make over the course of the lifetime that you um, have a customer? And then what is the cost to acquire that customer? And if you're at break even on the initial order, like any mature, sophisticated business owner should be looking to scale, given that you have the runway to do so. So, yeah, that's everything for today. Basically, ROAS is a vanity metric, and what really matters is your cost to acquire customers as it relates to the LTV, the lifetime value of your customers. So, the LTV to CAC ratio. That's the key metric that you want to be measuring.